Welcome back to Let's Get Real, chatting with Catherine, and we are back in January 15th, 2015. Nice numbers. And we are back with Debbi Coleen, who is the founder of starseedblueprint.com. And you can check her out there if you want to connect with her and do private sessions or get a reading or work with Debbi in astrology and numerology. And she ties everything together on her own Starseed Blueprint, which is based on the Chinese five element theory, which you can, if you're interested in that, go back on YouTube or right on lgrcc.com in the show pages, and you'll find lots of information from Debbi on that, on the Starseed Blueprint. But today we're going to explore with Debbi about what's been going on. We're into this new year, that's one thing, but we are into some new energy, and a lot of people are talking about it. It's been prophesied for a long time. We would move into the golden age. We would raise our vibration so that we would avoid the Armageddon, which actually Rose San Gregorio talked to me about recently on the first show of the year. And I thought that was very profound. So we are going to talk with Debbi right now. Welcome to the show, Debbi Coleen. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is always one of the most fun things in my world. So
that's wonderful.
Great to chat with you again.
It is. And I love the fact that you are so diverse in your knowledge, in your wisdom, and that you have the guidance of your guides that help to bring in information that we may not have already known. Most times we don't. And also all the other aspects that you're very well versed in, you know, with astrology and numerology and all that kind of thing, that sort of a bridge between all of these things, and you can bring it all together and make sense of it for those of us like myself who are seeking some insight. And boy, that's where I'm at right now, really. And I'm thinking a lot of people listening are probably feeling this energy. It's has that promise of really something great happening. But if we delve into the news at all, or maybe even experiencing it in our own lives, it seems like we're not quite there yet. So what are you picking up on this time, this 2015? I know you are also going to explore and have done some exploration already about the ending of the Chinese year of the horse is kind of coming to its conclusion, and then we're moving into the year of the sheep. So that energy is also here. So I'm hoping we can kind of explore in parts. We'll do this show in several parts so that people can really get a grasp of some of these things in a little more detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good, because there are some shifts coming up, happening right now, and it is an interesting time. You know, the Western calendar chooses the new year, the year end, by our calendar, December 31st. It's not really a time that corresponds totally with any of the more natural shifts of energies. For instance, you know, the Druidic times, the year end shifted, or there was a shift on the solstice, the winter solstice, and I guess our new year is loosely based on that. And the Chinese they base their year end on the moon cycles around the planet. So the Western system traditionally revolves, that's a good word, but it works with the sun,
right.
And the Chinese system works with the moon, more or less. There are a lot of overlaps. So there's this time between the solstice and the Western New Year and the Chinese New Year where we have certain celebrations going on, but perhaps we're more ready for the change than the energies of the planet are. So right now, according to the Chinese system, we're winding down with Year of the Horse, which means we're in a review time. The whole year, what we've basically learned is coming up, and we can practice some of the things we've learned. So, as I was saying in a class that I just was offering on the new year of the sheep energies coming in, this experience that we've had, and I'm thinking particularly of the terrorism in Paris, in France, that had been in the news quite a bit. It's, one of those review exercises. Something comes up and we get to see old energy, new energy, shifting energy. I really have just completed my 6 articles on for the whole year at truebluespiritmagazine.com. And I do 1 article for each 2 months, but I do them all at the beginning of the year.
Awesome.
So that really makes it easier. I think it's a lot smoother, and it's really inspiring for me to write that down, to do a bit of research and to write down everything for each of the animal signs. And so at the beginning of the Chinese New Year's, I like to share that information. I just find that if we have some advance warning about what's going to happen during the year, we can really take a higher view of what's going on.
And then work with the energy, right? I mean,
that's
we
right.
know we can work with the energy. I will put the link to your to True Blue Spirit magazine on, and then that way people can also check that out, because it's online, right?
It is, and it's free for people to sign up, I believe, and to check out all of the great articles that they publish once every 2 months. I mean, it's a fabulous magazine, and I'm very proud, very honored to be part of it. And gosh, I've been writing for them since Year of the Rabbit. So, oh no, actually before that, Year of the Tiger, then Year of the Rabbit, then Year of the Dragon, then Year of the Snake, and then this year we're completing Year of the Horse. And as I was saying to you earlier, Catherine, we're actually doing a review time. It seems like with the Western year end, December 31st, we have just before that a more ancient sun designed or sun referenced event, which is the solstice, the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, which is kind of a natural energy shifting point. And then we have this kind of more arbitrary time that is the Western New Year's, December 31st. It's, in alignment with that solstice somewhat. And then we have the Chinese New Year that comes up in February. This year it's February 19th. Although the experts say that the energy from one year to the next starts shifting about the beginning of Tiger Month, which in our calendar usually is approximately February 5th. So around February 5th, we start really shifting into the next year, which is Year of the Sheep, Year of the Green Wooden Sheep, this coming year in 2015. And that's a moon-based energy time. So the Chinese calendar is a lunar calendar more. So we have the Western sun calendar, we have the Eastern lunar calendar, and it's nice to kind of look at how those energies can inform us and like how to be and what's going to happen.
Sorry to interrupt you, Debbie, but the other thing that I find interesting about this, and it just really occurred to me yesterday, I was thinking about it in a different context, but that so we have these calendars that are global, but each individual, and you've worked with me on this in other ways, but each individual also has their own year. So according to your birthday, so the personal year, the sun sign, the moon sign, the calendars that go according to that, and we have the church calendars and all these different calendars, but we each also have our own individual calendar. That's or right. Year, right? So because sometimes it doesn't feel like for me, January 1st doesn't ever feel like this beginning of a new actual cycle for me personally.
For you personally, yeah.
So
It's
that's
more of a global cycle.
So when you're, and this is why I'm glad we're talking about it, and that people can know, if they do a private session with you, you would take into account all their personal stuff.
That's right.
Which really
That's
does.
right.
Yeah, I think that's important that people will realize, because I'm sure, maybe some people have never thought about that. Like, it's January 1st and now it's a new cycle, but I don't feel like I'm in a new cycle. And maybe that's why. Maybe because your birthday's somewhere in, the summertime or the fall.
That's right. That's right. And numerologically, our new year begins on our next birthday. So I think you're in a 9-year from your last birthday in August to your next birthday.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's not going to shift. But what there's going to be is some subtle shifts of other energies.
Right.
Our years go on, and there are definitely new things that happen, and new, especially in the bigger picture, in the global picture, and in our family pictures, our community, things do shift. So everything is having a new day every day.
Right. Right.
But there are some nice overviews with the the Chinese year is a very handy overview when we start looking this time of year. And that just kind of merges and melds with our own personal year. And you can find out your personal year by taking the number of the month and the day of your birthday, adding them together, and reducing them by adding any double digits together again, and keep adding the double digits together until you come up with one number. And then you do the same with the year that before your birthday happens. It's not going to be 2015 for you personally until your birthday. So Catherine, you're still working in 2014 until your birthday. So that's a 7. 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4. That's a 7. So you use that 7 and you add that to your birth month and your birthday, and you keep adding the double digits together till you get to a single digit. And that's how you know what your personal year is.
I think that's so remarkable. I did not know that. And you know what? This is the 7th season on Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine. Now it makes sense.
Well, it does, yes. There's something synchronistic going on there.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't know that. So, okay, and we're ending the year of the horse, Chinese years. And so, and I know you talked about this in a recent talk you did in person in Vancouver, and people, who are not in the area or whatever, in the future, you could probably check that out on Debbi's website, or check out the information on True Blue Spirit. But one of the things that you said, Debbi, was that how the energy of the old year it sort of dovetails a little bit, while like horse energy is kind of skittish, hurry up, get this done, kind of feeling.
Yes,
and I think
a little reactionary.
Yeah.
And that's that skittishness is kind of what I took, out of that example that we talked about earlier about the terrorist attacks in Paris, that it was very reactionary. Mm-hmm. Things were said, people had highly charged feelings on, responding to something that was said. And so it just makes sense that we're reviewing all that we've learned in horse year. And we're seeing that come into effect around this whole thing, and people coming together in community, that tribal pack energy, that horse is, it works for horses. That's how they work. They work in packs, and they can be running full speed, and then just sharply all the horses veer in a different direction at a moment's notice. They're very quick to respond, and sometimes very reactionary. And I think that, to my mind, is what happened in this whole issue in Paris, I didn't get the sense that it was like a highly planned experience.
Yeah, it makes sense though that it would be coming at the end of, like, we've been sort of dealing with a lot of this conflict and chaos and terrorism and fear-based stuff. It's so many levels,
That's
of our
right.
lives for this.
And horse is very reacts to fear quite powerfully. There, it's a powerful animal, very high speed, very sensitive, and can react to things very unexpectedly. And that's exactly what's happened. And it's important to look at all the sides of the situation. These things don't come up in what we call out of nothing.
Yeah.
You can see that they respond.
It did, and it felt like, but it also feels like that coming to the end of this, like we have had enough. The collective is
Yes.
like enough. That
And
was the
that's another thing of horse, is this absolute necessity for freedom. They need a big range to move, and while they can be very powerfully useful in domestic situations, they also have a highly developed free spirit.
Yeah, and people can
And
go
that's
back.
where people they come together and say no more.
Sorry, Debbie, for interrupting you, but I want people to know that we covered horse and all horse year last year on Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine, so they can go back into the archives and find that if they're wanting to sort of have a look at that. And then because we'll do another show probably as we get closer to the Year of the Sheep and talk about the real specifics of that.
That's right.
I just wanted to get this sort of, because we're sort of in this space of in between the years right now with all the other energy. Also, like you say, the solstice of the winter solstice had just ended, and then the new year and so forth. So I just wanted to let people know that's available.
Right. So, that it's interesting to see the review of horse year coming up through a very practical experience, not very pleasant, but what we'll see is as we move into Year of the Sheep is all about peace, harmony, calmness, responsibility, reliability, answerability, showing up, getting the work done. I think what we're going to see is that there's going to be a real movement.
Yeah, so we're moving into a time.
The sheep year, it takes us into a time where we want peace, we want harmony, we want calmness, and whatever is not that will come out to be looked at and to be delved into, so that we can find true peace, true contentment, true calmness, and dealing with underlying issues. There's nothing can be glossed over, really. So in the first couple months of sheep year, we'll probably find issues coming up where we are not at peace in our world. What grudges are we harboring? And that's a really big issue, because judgments, opinions, this is a year where lots of things are going to unravel, and we will do our best. We will be the most abundant, the most happy, the most contented when we are willing to look at those long-held beliefs that may or may not be true anymore, may not ever have been true, may be unexplored, but it's time that we will explore them, and the whole effort of that is to find peace.
So we might find that it doesn't look very peaceful at the beginning, because the stuff that's preventing peace will come up for us to look at. So it may look a little chaotic at first as we come to that place of accepting that some of the lies, the illusions, sort of seeing them and then letting them go. And then we'll find peace.
We will. And the thing about peace is that, we can keep saying this person's right, that person's right, but as long as we take sides, as long as we don't see the whole picture, as long as we want to have a winner and a loser, we're not going to have peace. So that question, you want to be right, or do you want to have peace?
Right.
That's really what this year is about. You want to be right, you want to have peace. It's going to keep coming up. And so people who are, set on there being a right and a wrong, a black and a white, it's just going to be hard on those people this year, because the truth is we can find peace at any moment by seeking peace. There's a flow of peaceful energy that is divine energy that we can step into at any time, and that's when our life will work properly. So as soon as we feel that we have to take sides, have opinions, judge one person over another, that's really not everybody's job. Some people, I imagine, judges, lawyers, people like that, teachers, often have to make those difficult decisions, but the truth is that there's an energy of peace that supersedes all of it.
Yeah, well, you can make, I think there's a real fine line there between, sometimes you have to, you're judged, but the word discernment comes into play. Learning to not be just judging, but to discern what's the best possible outcome here, or what's the best possible way for us to move through this. And where judgment is about, to me, very often it's about making the person wrong, making the person bad, where discernment is looking at the whole thing and saying, in this situation, this was not a healthy decision, or this was not the best choice, or this was antisocial behavior, whatever. So that I think it's more empowering for everybody.
Well, what it really comes down to is taking responsibility for our own choices and our own belief systems. That's what it is. If we believe that there's right and wrong, in everything, then we get stuck in that. And it's very limiting, because at the bottom of it, or the top of it, everyone is one energy. We're all part of a divine unity, and we're here to explore difference. We're here to explore all possibilities. And what we will begin to do in this year, and it'll only just be a very basic beginning, is to start asking, am I sure? Is that the only answer? Is that the final? What else is going on here? And of course, the biggest advance can be is when we move out of demanding compromise from people and start looking at how can we have consensus here, which means is like, how is this going to work for everyone? Which means sometimes we're going to have to give up being right, and we're going to need to acknowledge that in certain senses of how things have happened, people are not being, it's not fair. There's too much being asked from some and too little from others. And sometimes we just don't know what's going on for the other person. On the other hand, we're going to need to let go of our grievances.
Right.
And look at what we individually, uniquely need, and not make decisions about what other people uniquely need, and allow voices to become heard. And of course, this is like a 300-year process. But this is where some people start getting into a place where it doesn't have to be about analyzing. It's about turning it over to a higher power, moving our individual consciousness out of the way so that we can get to that place where we can trust spirit to bring the miraculous answer.
Okay, let's take a break there, Debbi, and and then when we come back, we can move into more about the individual, because I know that's part of this new sheep energy. So thank you so much. Let's just take a little break here, and when we come back, we'll get into this a lot more. We are creating an exquisite world. Until next time, take care.